Conor Knighton introduces us to some folks who are really going green.
Each morning, Darren Strenge cleans the carpet. He carefully sweeps and rakes the forest floor. And while he has a boring official title, everyone knows him as...
They call me the Moss Boss.
Strenge works at the largest public moss garden in the country, located inside Bloedel Reserve in Bainbridge Island, Washington.
The moss garden itself is about 2 acres. That's sort of like dedicated for the moss garden.
Inspired by Japanese moss gardens, this area was developed in the 1980s to showcase the beauty of the bryophyte. While to the untrained eye, it might all look like one big mass of green, there are actually dozens of species here.
This is called forked broom moss, or Dicranum scoparium. It forms these nice little dense clumps.
There's curly moss, lanky moss, and...
It's called a tree moss because...
Oh, it looks like a tree.
Yeah, it's got this little stalk and then the tuft of green branches up top, kind of like a little tiny palm tree.
While most people could rattle off all sorts of trees, moss doesn't have the same name recognition.
I think most people don't take that time to stop and look at moss. We walk over it, we see it growing in the cracks on the sidewalk, we are on the edge of a building or on a statue in a city.
Margaret Metz is an associate professor of biology at Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon.
I highly recommend getting up close and personal.
For a few days every year, moss gets its close-up. Lewis and Clark hosts an annual Moss Appreciation Week. There's a moss petting zoo.
They all feel nice and squishy.
Moss cupcakes.
It looks mossy.
Moss terrariums.
Algae, too, sometimes if I've added like too much water.
Moss art projects. Moss under the microscope.
There's Dress Like a Moss Day, which is happening today, so people will be pulling out their best green and brown outfits.
For senior Finn Goldberger-Judd, moss was actually a campus selling point.
What was your first exposure to
Well,
Moss Week like?
Moss Week was one of the reasons I came to this school.
Really?
Yes, I heard about it when I was visiting, and I thought it was so cool because I already loved moss and stuff on the forest floor.
Beautiful.
For many, the attraction is more about what moss represents.
I feel like there's a lot that we can learn from the little things, because if you work on little things and you build up, they make up the whole.
That makes moss an ideal teaching tool for Professor Metz.
I think there's joy in discovery and awe and wonder when you look at these mosses up close and you see these incredible jewel-like structures.
Entire worlds can exist inside of mosses. They provide habitat for the tiny tardigrade. Mosses are resilient and ancient, surviving for more than 450 million years through all sorts of climactic conditions. They currently sequester billions of tons of carbon. And yet, it sometimes takes an entire week, or an entire walk, to appreciate this more modest type of charm. Even moss boss Darren Strenge didn't initially arrive at Bloedel Reserve as a moss superfan. It, well, grew on him.
I've always loved taking care of plants, but the moss being so different than regular gardening, it's just opened my eyes, and I discovered a love that I didn't know I had.
I mean, it sounds like a dream job for you.
Yeah, it's absolutely a dream job. I don't think there's many people who can call themselves moss gardeners out there.